Hey, squad. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Justice. I'm your host, Suzette Speaks. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I host a show called Let's Talk Justice, and it is a talk show for the community where we break down legal and political issues for everyday people. If I have not seen you or made a connection with you, welcome. Please do like, comment, and even subscribe. I'm going to be dedicating today's show to a missing person out of Orlando, Florida. In recent weeks, we've seen very high profile missing persons cases in the United States. And this person you may not have seen in the news as much, and I'm going to discuss why. So again, hit that subscribe button, and I want to thank you so much for watching, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. Welcome. Again, I'm Suzette Speaks. I'm an attorney here in South Florida, and although I'll be discussing law, I will not be giving out any legal advice today. If you have a legal issue, please contact an attorney directly so that they can specifically address your legal questions and needs. So as I said, I'm going to be talking about a missing persons case today. Now, if you have not heard of this young lady, I'm not surprised, but I wanted to use my platform to bring more awareness to her case and to discuss some of the social reasons and cultural reasons why we might not be hearing about all or are not hearing about missing persons of color as much as we probably should be. So I'm going to be talking about the case involving Miya Marcano. Miya Marcano is a young lady who went missing last Friday, September 24th in Orlando, Florida. Her parents are from South Florida. She is from South Florida. So that's why I really wanted to spend some time to highlight her case. If you don't know who she is, I'm going to just share a few facts and maybe that could help someone, find piece of information or remember seeing her or have some information related to where this young lady may be. Now, as many of you who follow the news or even not even in the news, more so on social media, you've probably heard of a young lady named Gabby Petito. In recent weeks, she was just recently laid to rest. I want to share my thoughts and prayers with her family. No one ever wants to wake up one day and say, my loved one is missing. But apparently this happens in the United States far more commonly than many of us, would know. So I was researching and trying to find out how many missing persons there are in the United States. And I was shocked to find out that over 500,000, over 500,000 people went missing in 2020. So about 540,000 according to some sources. And I said, wow, that's a lot of people to be reported missing. And the year before that, in 2019, it was almost 600,000, depending on the sources that you use. So I said, wow, in the United States, we've got an issue here where 500,000, 600,000 people are going missing. Now, there are all kinds of open cases that still exist. I'm just highlighting one, and they're all equally as important. There are cases dating back to the 70s, 80s, even way before that, where families are still in the dark about where their loved one is. And as most of you probably know, in pop culture, we've heard about the First 48, and that's a big television show. But usually within like the first few days of a missing persons report, or within that context on the television show, it's about someone being murdered. In those early days is when you find the best evidence, most reliable evidence, and evidence, most importantly, that's going to break open the case. So I wanted to spend some time talking about this lady and making sure people, especially around the Orlando area, because she has a South Florida tie, I really wanted to highlight her today. Well, her parents, if you guys don't know, there is a big DJ, a popular DJ called DJ, I think it's Eternal Vibes here in South Florida. They are part of what's the Caribbean American community, what's called like the soca movement. And her, I believe it's her stepmom, is known as Giselle, the Wasi one. Miss Giselle, shout out to you. So she has a very large and extended family that originates here in South Florida, and she had recently moved up to Orlando in an area near UCF, University of Central Florida, where she, Miya, got a job at her apartment complex. So this is not uncommon. People go away, usually to attend school. And I was going to add in the missing persons information that I could find, 35% are under 18 and 44, depending on your source, 44 or 45% are under the age of 21. So about 45% of the people that go missing each and every year are young, very young, under the age of 21. Now, some people are, of course, found, and unfortunately, some people are found deceased as well. So we're praying for this family. We're praying for Miya to come home. We're praying that someone will know something. And I'm going to go over a few facts in this case to highlight it, particularly for those of you who are in and around the Orlando area. That's Orange County, Florida, and Seminole County, Florida, are where parts of this story has unfolded. So Miya was working on Friday, and she usually works, like I said, at her apartment complex. She usually works and always stays in contact with her family. So that's when her family knew something was wrong, when she was scheduled to get off of work around 5 o'clock and then catch a flight to head back home to South Florida around 8 o'clock. The first sign of trouble came when the family found out she missed her flight. She did not catch her flight on Friday evening. So, of course, they alerted, authorities, something is wrong. Our daughter never keeps her phone off and doesn't, stay out of contact with her family for very long. She's 19 years old. So the family, thankfully, Orlando's not that far from here in South Florida, from Miami, Fort Lauderdale. So they drove up. When the family drove up to her apartment, they found a very unsettling scene inside of her apartment. Her apartment was in disarray. Some would say ransacked. There was a mess when they opened the door. They found a broken necklace on the floor, according to police reports, and they found blood on her pillow, according to police reports. So those signs, of course, would be very alarming to any parent. And again, no one wishes this on anyone, and I pray none of us ever have to go through it. But again, with 500,000 plus missing every year around about in the United States, there are many families that are dealing with this type of situation. So in Miya's case, the family alerted Orange County Sheriff's Office. They got involved and they named a person of interest, according to WESH Channel 2, WESH Channel 2 in Orlando. This gentleman's name is, and I want to get his name right, last name was Caballero. Mr. Caballero is a 27-year-old who was a person of interest in the missing case of Miya Marcano. Now, Mr. Caballero, plot twist, was found dead in his apartment in Seminole County. So he apparently, according to reports, was a person that also, Armando Manuel Caballero, 27, Armando Manuel Caballero. So according to police reports, Mr. Caballero was a person that also worked at the apartment complex. And thank you for dropping in. How are you, WT Funk? Is this? Happy to share, and prayers up. But this story, ever since pandemic, is happening more and more and more. Yes, you are absolutely right. And thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment if you've ever had to deal with a missing person or know someone who has dealt with the tragedy of someone in their family missing. So we were talking about Miya Marcano. Marcano is here, and I'm actually going to change that hashtag. I'm so sorry. I got her last name. It's Marcano, M-A-R. I want to make sure I spell that right, so we could get where we need to go. Yes. All right, Miya Marcano here. Let me bring it back up. And welcome to those of you who are watching. Here we go. This is what it should look like. There we go. Miya Marcano is a 19-year-old woman from South Florida who was living in Orlando in the Orange County area near UCF, worked at an apartment complex where she lived, and on Friday she went missing. So Miya Marcano is 5 feet tall, 130 pounds. Her parents are pretty prominent entertainers here in South Florida. They are DJs who are very well known in the Caribbean American community here, soca warriors, as they call themselves, who are known entities and are part of the fabric here for the Caribbean American community. So when this went public on Friday, Saturday, I saw it a lot on my timeline with friends posting in their stories on Instagram and on Facebook, help us find Miya. So it helps because it brought it to my attention. I was like, who is Miya what is this young lady going through, and how can I help? I was talking to my brother last night, and he was describing, he was like, who her dad is, who her mom is. And I thought, wow, this is an important story that we're not going to see necessarily as much as we saw Gabby Petito's story and others like her on CNN, on major, and I just call out CNN, but I mean any major platform. You're going to see stories much more frequently of hi guys, and I'm so glad you're watching. I'm so glad. Hey, let me give a shout out to my people. Hey squad, appreciate you coming on and taking some time to view. I haven't heard this on the news. Thank you for bringing this attention to this. Thank you, Hermes Addict. Okay, we got Hermes Addict in the building. Larry, good morning or good day, whatever time it is that you're watching. If you're catching the replay, let me know you're catching the replay. I appreciate y'all watching, and like I said, this one hit home when I read the news reports about it. It is truly apparent that most times you have to create your own outrage when you're a person of color. And this has happened a couple times from people in my direct circle, where they were trying to, hold on to what the police were telling them and hold on to what, the what should I say, the normal chain of command would tell them, what to do. But in this day and age, I agree with you. You have to make your own waves. You have to create your own buzz, and you have to share your own story, and in a big way, or it gets buried. It's sad, but that's where I'm thinking a lot of folks, want to believe that, police are doing as much as they can. And many times they are. But when you apply that pressure, that public pressure, you get a different response. So I want to be a part of the movement that helps to hopefully find this young woman. I was thinking the same about CNN. Yes, you're going to find a lot of, particularly individuals that are not of color, highlighted like a Gabby Petito, much more than folks who are not as known. And I'm going to just highlight and just talk a little bit about. Yes, I've seen this in my life, unfortunately. Wow. It is a big deal. It is something that happens much more frequently than we like to admit here in the United States. But especially with so many young people going missing, I think it's something that is worth being talked about. So let's talk a little bit about that as I bring up Gabby Petito again. Rest in peace. And again, love and respect to her family. I am going to just highlight what a good and very honest journalist said on her program, and that's the one Joy Reid. She's more than good. She's great. Joy Ann Reid of MSNBC highlighted this also on her program, her evening program, talking about when the victim happens to be white, and particularly a white woman, how much media coverage. You can think about Natalie Holloway, and you can think about several others, but I'm not going to get into the weeds of who, much more why. Because there is a disparity, as much as it is uncomfortable to say, and as much as it can be very, un-American in terms of what we like to say, equal justice under the law, all lives matter, all of that. There's still a gap and a glaring disparity in how missing persons of color are treated by the media. And that's just a fact. The numbers and statistics bear it out. When you look at indigenous populations, when you look at Black or Hispanic populations, there are so many missing people that you've never, ever, ever, ever heard of. And I was watching, following along with the Gabby Petito story, and it was like a drama, like a telenovela, or like almost like a Netflix show. I was reading an article in Madame Noir, or Madame, I think it was Madame, Madame Noir is a Black blog. And it was also echoed in some other larger publications, how much press, and again, Gabby Petito's family deserves also to be highlighted. I'm not saying they don't, but how much press was given to this one individual when at the same time, there were several African-American young men, one in Arizona, one up in the Midwest, they found his body, that were almost ignored, except in certain communities on social media where people were like, help us find these young men. So I just wanted to not let this one also, and I'm going to read some comments. Hi, Hermes Addict says, I'm from NYC, recently moved to Miami Beach, and I heard about Gabby. It's a shame we aren't hearing about women of color. I hear you. WT Funk is this, says, this is the lady he used, LOL. Now you know Oh, now you know the name of the lady murder from Aruba. Exactly. I will not forget Natalie Holloway's name because there was so much news. And even when I look at Gabby Petito's case, commentators have put out there, she had less than 1,000 followers on Instagram when she went missing, it's reported. And she has like 1.2 million followers now. A person who has been found, her body, and she'll never post on it again, but 1.2 million people now follow her. I think that's a huge, like, I was reading the amount of impressions she had, or the hashtag Gabby Petito had on, TikTok, 634 million impressions on TikTok. So there is bound to be an outcome. The police are still in that case looking for, I think it was her long term, or they were really young. You would call it like sweetheart, high school sweetheart, young love. And I think what was also very compelling about that story, not only was she like an American golden girl, blonde hair, blue eye, kind of like, everyday girl. I think for many, the contrast of what she put out on social media, her and the boyfriend's name is Brian Landry, who is a person of interest who the FBI have now, put out as, I think they're charging him with something else, not as necessarily a suspect in her murder. He's a person of interest, but on wire fraud and some other charge. They're going to bring him in and probably try to put pressure on him to see if he will, break and share some more information about what happened to her. But I think what was compelling about that story was that there were so many people that were shocked by the picturesque life that they posted, the tranquil, all loving, perfect, young couple that they portrayed, and how far from the truth their real life was. I think that was shocking to people when you hear the 911 tape in Petito's case. And not to digress too much, where there's a person in Arizona as they're going on a camping trip, or her and the boyfriend were going on, 4-month cross country trip, and they're posting about it. And, people saw them driving, and the reports from someone who called 911 who saw their van said, "Oh, I see a gentleman slapping," that's according to the 911 tape, "a young woman." They pulled over, and there's a whole bunch about this. I don't want to spend more time, but I want to just say, like, how compelling a story it's been, and how in every way, the maximum media coverage that one can anticipate, almost frenzied media coverage, almost unbelievable level of media coverage of that case, by contrast to so many cases like Miya Marcano. And I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm back. It looks like I had stopped a little bit in the middle there. Woo, child, that was nerve wracking. In the middle of the day, there can't be that many people using the Comcast, but apparently there are. But I want to get some of your comments in. I want to thank you for hanging in there. Thank you guys for watching. Again, Suzette Speaks, Let's Talk Justice, just bringing some awareness to the Miya Marcano case out of Orlando, Florida. Um, Hermes Addict says, yes, I heard this as well. Yes, we know this. Sad but true. The serial killer in Cali did it for years because he was killing hookers of color. No one would care, and that's evil. That's evil. Yeah. WT Funk, thanks. Okay, thank you. Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Thank you for watching. Again, I apologize for that blip on the screen there. I think it was my end. WT Funk is this says, I swear you really need to have Black news recap of the day or week. You'd be you were very kind. Thank you very much because I'm very yeah. Did y'all jinx me? I love it. They like, did she good? Did it stop? Yes, just for a quick second, it was me. Sorry, but that happens. This is real life here. Yes, LOLs. I'm LOLing with you. But yeah, we're back. We don't please don't. We're not pointing any fingers. That was on my end. But yeah, it's kind of no. Talking about I ran away. I did not run away. I definitely saw my circle here. Welcome all of you who just joining. Suzette Speaks here. Hey, what's going on? Chi-Town, Team Mac, what's good? Thank you so much for watching. I have just so much in my heart about this case because I could see myself in this case. So back to I think that was a good segue to get back to the case at hand. Again, this is about Bring Home Miya Marcano. She is a 19-year-old who went missing last week Friday, Orlando, Florida. Hey, welcome to the conversation, Samuel. I'm glad you're here. I am just trying to bring some awareness to you can take the heat. Thank you. I just want to bring some awareness to a young lady, in all seriousness, who went missing in Orlando. The main person of interest, the gentleman named, and now deceased gentleman named Armando Manuel Caballero, 27 years old, was a maintenance man. So this was an interesting fact that I saw. He worked at the same place that she worked. And the police just released the fact that the master key for the apartment complex where she lived was used to open her door at 4:30 on Friday. Now she gets off at 5. So the master key to which Mr. Caballero had access was used to open her apartment. Remember, she worked and lived at the apartment complex, was used to open her apartment at 4:30, and she get off at 5. She was supposed to catch a flight at 8, which she did not show up for. So last seen at that apartment complex. So yeah, there's so much there. This man kills himself. Allegedly, he hung himself, according to Orlando, Orange County Sheriff's Office. He hung himself since being named a person of interest in her case. It's very disturbing, and again, it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. 130 pounds, 5 feet tall. She's a tiny little thing. And I'm thinking about myself, at that age and all the things that young people don't know. And allegedly, as I've been watching local news here in South Florida, there are some news outlets that have also reported that Miss Marcano had been rebuffing and rejecting advances by Mr. Caballero, that he had been since June 2021 an employee of the apartment complex. I'm not going to name the name, it's in the description. He was the maintenance person, and again, she worked there as well, and that he had been making advances towards her, and that she had been refuting those advances. So those reports are allegedly coming out as well. On top of that, recent reports here in South Florida, and I will attribute it to Local 10 News, just reported today. I was catching some midday reports on it. They have said, and again, this has not been proven, I haven't heard it from the sheriff's office side, but reports are now coming out allegedly that are saying that Mr. Caballero had also harassed other people at the apartment complex, that some women have come forward. This is all allegations. I've not seen it released by the sheriff's office, but have come forward saying that he was kind of creepy. He would be in their apartments when they got home. Now, I know you're the maintenance man. But you kind of lurking or not supposed to be in people's apartments when they're not there, or at least identifying yourself, leaving a note on the door. People would come home and he's inside their apartment. Other women allegedly have now come forward and said that. So if that is true, this is all allegations. I just heard it on my local news here. This leads to, so many more questions. Why was he working there? Why wasn't he, I don't know if he was reprimanded, but even fired? Like, we have to do background checks on people of all, areas of life and all the rungs of society. We have to be very careful who we're hiring, and we have to make sure we are not hiring people that are going to put both, the company in danger and the people that they're serving in danger. So listening to those reports today kind of really freaked me out, thinking about, I've lived in an apartment complexes where you see that, that one weird person that's always hanging out or things like this. And then what do you do if you're a young woman and you are not, interested in this person, and this person keeps coming at you? And I think in my own personal circles, I've talked a lot about that, how the American justice system is not really well adept with helping people who are being individually targeted. If you have one person that's targeting you, like a harasser, a stalker, and this kind of thing, it is incumbent upon you to protect yourself. It is very hard to have this kind of like 100% certain security based on an individual being targeted. It is very hard. Once you get those restraining orders and things, you become a bigger target oftentimes for women who are leaving relationships or were never in relationships and didn't want the attention to begin with. It can literally open a bigger can of worms. I can tell you stories about cases down here in Palm Beach County and other places that as soon as someone filed a restraining order, they were killed. So I'm thinking about all of the legal I don't want to say wrangling, but parts of the legal system that are supposed to help in these kind of situations that oftentimes make it even worse for the victim if they're the person that is experiencing the harassment. I think about that and I'm just like, how could she have handled this? Or were there other reports where this person should have been addressed adequately prior? So I'm going to read some of your comments. I'm very concerned about this. Again, shout out to the family, her father, Marlon Marcano, known down here as DJ Eternal Vibes. I see you. I've seen your posts on Instagram. We stand in solidarity with you in your search. If I can bring any awareness to what's happening and it helps, I hope. I'm going to read some of you. Thank you for listening again. Samuel says he's finding this interesting. Yes, she was definitely a baby, 19 years old. Again, majority of missing persons in the United States, under 25. So 44%, 45, depending on what a source you use, are under 21. So that'll tell you that, again, last year alone, 500,000, I've read 540,000 in some sources, people went missing. 500,000 people went missing in the United States. Now, of course, some of those cases get resolved. Some of them are closed. People are found. Unfortunately, people are found dead as well. But I just thought about that. I was like, golly, 500,000 people every year. Like I said, 2019, 600,000 people. That's a lot of people dealing with this turmoil. And they say a quarter or a third are runaways, things like this. But it still matters, runaway or not. Yes, blind guy, his wife, their life says this is very disturbing. In O'Shea, Duke, Jackson voice. Oh, hell. Thank you. It's I say it laugh because I can hear his voice in my head saying it. But on a serious note, it's real. It's real. Imagine you being their family. When I saw her aunt today on a news conference, her mom, stepmom, cousins are up there. Listen, them boys, from what I'm hearing on the street down here, them boys from Lauderdale they rode up to Orlando. It's a bunch of people up there, putting up signs, trying to find her. It's a community. From what I hear, a lot of people went up there to Orlando. It's like a 2.5 hour drive to help. So thank you to the people who are posting. Thank you to the people, I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it on Instagram. I've seen it now locally because she has a South Florida tie. The Miami people are covering it a little bit more. But imagine if it was you. You would want your daughter to get some media coverage. You would think that would be like the natural progression, but oftentimes it's not. It depends on who it is. So I definitely wanted to take some time. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. WT Funk, it is, says, we honestly need a mafia in the community that curbs the chaos, crime, and curbs the chaos, crime. I understand. And it is said when you are powerless. Can you make a clip or short discussing her so we can share? Absolutely. I've seen a couple posts. I was trying to work out if I had time this morning, and I'm gonna have to sign off in a little bit here, get back to work. But I was trying to see if I could impose some of the videos I've been watching. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what people need to see, and make it easy to post. Thank you. Samuel says, these stories are just so sad. Too many people are going missing each year. Could there be something more to all these missing? I mean, wondering. I'm like, do we have more serial killers on our streets? And I'm laughing. It's like a fear laugh, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, the pattern is just scary. Like, who is kidnapping, or who? I mean, some people are going off on their own. There are runaways for sure, but they're vulnerable just the same. But on top of that, all these people are not runaways. I'm like, who is kidnapping people? Who you get just taken off the street like this? Makes you think about, being a parent and what you could do to protect your child. A lot of people, kids walk home, kids do all kinds of things, and we got to live. It's a free society, but it still makes me so nervous to think about the amount of people, 540,000 approximately, that went missing in 2020. Now, I was trying to research how many people remain missing. And thank you for the love, Hermes. Yes, bring back the vigilantes. Don't tell your Saturday politicians I said it. Listen, we go live with the politicians on Saturdays. So yes, a whole different discussion, because I thought about that. What would be either the legal way in terms of the justice system way? Now, we do have, like I said, restraining orders and stuff, but sometimes I feel like that stuff can actually bring violence upon a person. That's why we have these, domestic violence shelters. I used to be on the board for one where they will literally have to relocate the woman before she files it, give her a whole new name, new identity, almost like witness protection, and move her to a new county, a new state. This has to happen because, like I said, individually targeted people, it's very difficult to protect them as far as our natural and which I say ordinary function of a police department. It's not for them to like one-on-one protect you. They'll show up if something happens, but kind of preemptively, it is up to you to protect yourself. So I'm just thinking about how, if a person worked at your same workplace, at your apartment complex, had keys to your apartment, kept trying to come onto you, and you kept saying no, how does one protect herself from that? You get off, and God knows what she found when she came into her apartment. And I'm just speculating again. The family went up there themselves. They went into her apartment. They saw it, in disarray. They saw her necklace popped. They saw blood on her pillow. I'm just going by, again, I like to go where the evidence leads. I look at facts. You're a healthy person. Why is blood on your pillow? You don't have no reason to pop your own necklace. Why is your necklace popped on the floor? We're just going by what are some of the context clues, and hopefully this family will still find this young lady. It is very worrisome. It's heartbreaking. I was watching them, and sometimes when you watch some of the press conferences, you see some of the families, and it's like the crocodile tears. This was not, in my opinion. I'm looking at our auntie. I'm looking at the posts online. I'm like, these people are really, really, really missing their daughter. It's not one of these setups where people are looking like, they're trying to blame people for what they did. This does not appear, could be 100% wrong. This does not appear that way, just based on what they have been saying in the news, and the aunt who has been stepping forward as the family's spokesperson. It is heart-wrenching to imagine you send your daughter up to college, you send your daughter to another city to go live her life, and there are people that are out to, they want her, and therefore destroy her. And there are just similarities with the Gabby Petito story. There are similarities there. It is a very toxic mindset that leads to a lot of this and disturb people. On top of that, there are people that are not well, mentally speaking. They're not well. And then you just have people that are evil. Yes, I said it. Because people like to also, to me, use mental health as a cop-out. Sometimes it's not mental health, darlings. Sometimes they're just evil, and they want you, and they rather nobody have you, It's a power and control thing. If you've studied domestic violence and that circle of power, the wheel, I think they call it, of power, it is very real. So I want to know more about this Caballero guy. He killed himself. The main person of interest killed himself, hung himself in his apartment in Seminole County. So I don't know what that means in terms of how they're going to possibly pursue where this young lady could be. They're looking at cell phone pings. I'd seen a Facebook group pop up with people leaving messages and clues. Let's do the Gabby Petito for her. Let's do a Miya Marcano the way we did Gabby Petito. Let's get the same energy up, because it disturbs me how many people of color you never hear about. You never hear about them. It's startling. But it starts here. It starts with what I'm doing here, and it starts with all of you, whether it's the share, because then the mainstream are like, oh, we got to pick this up. Yeah, we got to push sometimes. We got to be our own voice. I'm very, very empathetic towards the horrific state of affairs that this family is going through. And the internet don't want me today. I was just coming in. Come on now. Come on, internet. Come on, internet. Don't be like that. Don't be like that with me. Some more points I want to make. I may cut this short just so I don't get cut off. We gotta plan better. Yes, I'm gonna go through some of the comments before I hit off. But you guys, yes, and there's underground something. I'm going too fast. Sorry. Oh, my system might be a little slow. Let's go back. Near the national parks. Interesting. Yeah, I think there's a lot of buried bodies on the side of the roads. Our highway system. Sometimes when I'm making cross country, I mean, I don't do cross country trips like that, but when I have in the past, I've been like, woo, some of these wooded areas, I'm shocked at what you might find in them, scarily speaking. No BS, there may be a tunnel system that we're not aware of. Hey, Terry, what's going on? Appreciate you joining. Thank you so much for watching. Well, we're doing a little struggle streaming here every now and then. Appreciate y'all. I know. Let's give a big laugh. I know. I'm just like, really? They don't want me to be great today? The internet does not want me to be great today. I know. But I'm glad you guys are sticking it out. Again, I'm speaking about Miss Miya Marcano, young lady from South Florida. Parents are big in the Caribbean American community here. They are both musicians, DJs, big followings. They are part of what, I guess you would call it, soca lovers, soca warrior community, people who are from some of the islands like Virgin Islands, Trinidad and Tobago. There are huge expat, or I guess you would call it diaspora communities here in South Florida, of course, from the Caribbean. The Miami is like the gateway to the Caribbean and South America. So we have a lot of different Black. We all have people of color, but we're like, they may, speak Portuguese back to you, look just like you, but speak Portuguese or Spanish or, different dialects. So we are very big on, diaspora and community. That's why I really wanted to make sure I highlighted this young lady. She is just as deserving of the intense media that, Gabby Petito got. And again, no disrespect. And I want to find what happened to Gabby Petito too. It's not either or. Like, I want to know what happened to her as well. But the media frenzy and the soap opera like, obsession with, 630 some million impressions on TikTok, the Reddit streams on that platform, the Instagram following. Now she has 1.2 million followers in her death. When she had under 1,000, apparently, when she went missing. Just the obsession with this one person, and again, her case deserves the attention and deserves to be, and I want to say deserves and resolved at the same time, deserves to be resolved. And Mr. Landry needs to be dealt with, her boyfriend, if they ever find him. But have you ever seen a search like this, though? I'm talking about all up and down them Florida swamps, on the airboats, through and through. They're going to find this man. Well, let's get the same energy from Miss Marcano. That's all I want. It's not an either or. But we also have so many people in our, I can't even get into our indigenous women. Indigenous women and children have the highest levels of domestic violence in our country, and thereby a high level of disappearance as well, and murder. But we don't see their stories for our brothers and sisters. We don't. So an only way to change that is to highlight it. It is not to necessarily say one or the other. I feel like when people give you that false dichotomy, we have to share a small piece of the pie. No, there's enough for everybody. But we can't stand for the disparity just kind of going and no one really calling it out. Shout out to Joanne Reed of MSNBC for doing so. Got some backlash for it. But it's, again, not to say we don't care about all, but we don't have the same energy when it comes to covering and highlighting what happened to, forget the young man's name, Mr. Day, I think is his last name. In the Midwest, his parents were saying the same thing. We couldn't find our son, and I don't feel like the energy was up. The young man who was the geologist who went missing in Arizona, his parents found his car overturned, keys in the car. That's not normal. Where's the frenzy on that? And the list could go on. I'm not saying that it's just a matter of, maybe the resources, but I just know on the media side, it's not a matter of resource. People are choosing. There are editorial decisions as to what gets covered and who gets covered and why. So we got to really, really be aware of this, guys. We have to do our part, because when we talk about it, that's when mainstream media, you ever notice that you see a lot on the internet first, and then all of a sudden, it's national news? Well, we've been talking about it, right? On Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, we've seen these stories. And then all of a sudden, it pops up on mainstream media. We make a difference. We really do. So I want to encourage you, read up on her, just Google missing people in America. I was shocked. The numbers will astound you. Just look it up. Missing people in America. It is frightening. And I'm just like, what can we do? I need to address that with my political folks that come on Let's Talk Justice on Saturdays at noon. Plug that what can be done about this? Is this something that we just have to live with? Hey, lead. Oh my goodness. Thank you for watching. The lead attorney, the legendary lead attorney, is in the building. I appreciate you so much. Again, he's an awesome YouTuber. I mean, I'm late to the game on the lead attorney, but he has graced me with the privilege of being on a couple times on his show, on his channel, serving on a panel. So I am appreciative. I will be joining his Patreon. I can't wait to learn from him. So all of you who came this way because of the lead attorney, thank you, sir. It's amazing to see. Thank you very much for dropping by. Hermes Addict, we should care about both. I agree 100%. 100%. Lead says, salute Dario and the blind guy, his wife, their life. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I feel very honored to have you here, Lead. Thank you. And they're saluting back. Appreciate it. Lots of love in the chat. Amazing. WT Funk says, thank you for bringing our natives up. Even Black people forget about our Native Americans. Yes, we have sided with white and need to focus on our own media and our own stories. News and media is not for us. Help listen, our Native American brothers and sisters, they also need us to stand in solidarity with them. I could not agree with you more. People of color in general are often marginalized, and in media coverage, there's no exception. So I agree with you 100%. We got to speak up for those who are unable to or don't get as much coverage, even as we do, which is so sad. But yeah, we have to keep bringing this issue to the fore so it can be corrected. What do you think, Miss Marcano and others? Samuel says, do you think Miss Marcano and others don't get the same light as Miss Gabby Petito, asking for a point? Too sad. I hear you. There is something that Joy Ann Reid mentioned, and I was afraid to mention it because, again, not my words. I think the term was coined by the late Gwen Ifill, another tower in news media and journalism. Uh, Recently passed last year, I believe, Gwen Ifill was known for her just incredible journalism. She was a longtime host on PBS, and she coined the term missing white woman syndrome. That came from Gwen Ifill. And when Joy Ann Reid also talked about it on her show, she was, slammed by many who were uncomfortable with that realization that, hello, there's something, we have a name for it. And it was very uncomfortable. And even me here, I'm just like, people will not take this well if they feel, attacked. But in Gwen Ifill, coining that term, I think it speaks for itself, which is to indicate that there is a value judgment being made in the media, and where many who are in power are placing that value is not among people of color. And we got to call that out, because many folks who, claim to be liberal, if you were to ask them, and then others, our brothers and sisters on the other side of the coin, conservatives, many are not, conscious of bias even in themselves, because a lot of people don't look at themselves as being, biased. But, internal bias is real, subconscious bias is real. And in whatever job we have, oftentimes we're bringing that subconscious bias with us. So it's not a matter of attacking someone who may not even understand why or that they are doing this type of self-selection. But we got to call it out, because we know, again, whether unintentional or not, we know the outcome is what it is, which is that more than likely, if you're a person of color that goes missing in the United States of America, you're not getting media coverage. Your family has to do it for you. You hope that your friends and family and community speak up on your behalf, because it won't be the media. It'll be you first and foremost, your people's first and foremost. And then you hire the attorney, Mr. Crump, for example, to bring more, and you get the folks in the Black Lives Matter movement and just whoever's on the front lines, advocates and others, who will now help to bring your cause to the fore. Because even when I was listening to certain cases that have to do with more police brutality and such, some of these cases that are being talked about now happened 2, 3, 4 years ago. I just interviewed a lady for my Let's Talk Justice platform on one of my pre-recorded shows for her brother who died in 2019, being tased by officers in Orlando, in and around Windermere. And it never made the news. And sis just realized she and her family got to be on the courthouse steps themselves. They were trying to do what they were told. They were trying to kind of follow protocol. They were listening to the police, but nothing was happening. And they were more and more, the tape of her brother dying, all of this other stuff. And I'll wait for that show to kind of expound on that. But I thought to myself, wow, we're trying to be, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to go, too crazy. We don't want to be seen as, aggressive or not working with police or being too loud or being mad or being angry. But for many of us, if we are not, we don't get heard. And again, different areas of the country handle things differently. Different media outlets, not going to paint a broad brush of everybody, handle things differently. But on a case-by-case basis, if you put up people of color versus a white person, more specifically a white woman going missing, just look at how many, if you Google Gabby Petito, it's like 27 million impressions on Google. 27 million. But look up Miss Marcano. How many are you going to find? It is just a striking disparity. So to answer your question, there's a lot to be said as to why, but media bias is real. And I think it leads to the public caring about what is in front of them. That's why we have commercials. That's why we have advertising. You push it, and then we believe it. So when it seems like this case should be paid attention to, and this is the most major thing going on in America, people pay attention to it because it's all over the news. It's repetitive. You're going in your inbox, you're seeing this story. You're going on social media, you're seeing this story. You're going to your news outlets, you're seeing the story again. So therefore, it's almost like an animal. That It's like it produces after its own. It feeds itself. So now you are watching more Gabby Petito because you've seen more Gabby Petito, and you look up more Gabby Petito and you find more Gabby Petito because the algorithm in it kind of is like, self-serving. So we want to mix up the algorithm today. We want to put a little Miya Marcano in the algorithm so that it shows up more on people's feeds. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to address. That's a short answer. There's a lot more layers to it. And I think, like I said, Joyanne Reed has done a great job of calling it out and kind of dealing with it on her show. And some of the reasons why this seems like a pattern in American media and, is provable because, there's truth to it. But I think we and within our own communities can do a good job of helping to counter that pattern as best as we can. We can't rely on some of these media outlets to do what we're going to have to do, apparently. And thank God for social media because it allows us that voice now. It allows us to be able to say, we're going to pay attention to what we want to pay attention to, not what you're going to tell us to, what you're going to place more emphasis on. And therefore, it's going to just snowball and, just because of how algorithms work. We're going to spend more time on stories that we want to see and people we also know need to be highlighted. And it's going to have to take us, grassroots. It's going to have to take us because, like I said, mainstream not necessarily going to do it first. But if they see it on Twitter, they see it on their timelines with their friends, they're like, ooh, who is this? We're going to have to do it. And that's what I'm hoping to do here. Awesome. Blind guy, his wife, their life. Yes. Let's keep making a difference. It's a mess that this is where we are with so many missing people. Trust me. When I was looking at the numbers, I was like, how can I condense this for people? This is like major. When we're seeing how many people are missing, this is major. This is huge. So yeah, we have to talk about there's a bigger problem in America. Missing people in general is a problem. And again, many do get resolved. I think I was reading, it depends on the source, between like 85, 89,000 and say almost 100,000 remain missing, like are still open cases with the FBI. I'm not talking about all law enforcement agencies around the country is where you get the 500,000. All missing persons ever reported to any law enforcement around the country, it's like 540,000-ish, right? And now still remaining open with the FBI, I've read between like 85, 89 and 100,000 remain open, which is still a lot of people. So yeah, missing people. It was coined by Gwen Ifill. Yeah, quoting her. Absolutely. Shaitan says good vibes. Yes, it's a heavy subject. I try to make it a little bit lighter because I know it's a lot. And, in the middle of your day, you're not necessarily trying to ingest and really, because it affects my spirit. I mean, I get very, I'm sensitive to these things, even though many of us get desensitized with another person's missing. Oh my God, another person died, another person was shot. Yeah, it can get that way, but we still should care. This was a human life. This is somebody's daughter. This person had goals and dreams and lots of ability, just beginning life. This woman could have been on earth to do a myriad of things. And here we are, no answers. So we have to make sure we are not kind of like, we get drained and we get overwhelmed by all this bad news every now and then. We do have to stop. But we also must take into account that if we don't pay attention or we don't share, it becomes like, buried. Another family, oh, just another Black child. Oh, it's just, oh, no, we can't do that. They matter. They matter just as much as Miss Petito. She did matter too. I'm not saying she didn't. She mattered just as much. But we need equal energy. We need some balance and coverage, right? There are people that will never get on the front page. I'm talking about front page of major news sources. I'm talking about around the world wrapped up in this story. I'm just thinking to myself, whoa, there are families that have never gotten an interview, never been talked to, never been seen by more than their immediate circle in their little town or their city. It has got to change. So we're going to do our best here to hopefully bring some light to her. If I can get an interview with one of her people, so I really want that, to see if I can, get some questions answers. I'm gonna wrap up here in a little bit. Honestly, it's global and shows up in so many different ways, says our Mez addict. The Justice League, I hear you. Dario Duplan, I love your name. Indispensable with Rashad Ritchie. This is the new Black YouTube channel that he will maybe blow. Let me see. That he will maybe blow this story up. I will look at his name. Thank you. Thank you, WT Phone. Because I have a couple people I want to highlight where I'm like, nobody is doing it. Reach out to him. He is awesome. Wow. Okay. So his name is Rashad Ritchie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting to know everybody in these communities, guys. It is a fantastic way to build, as lead attorney would say, the network of who you talk with, what you talk about. I have a couple of guests coming up. I did an author. Did y'all catch the interview with the author yesterday? Fantastic. Or was it Sunday? Fantastic. If you have not seen Veronique Pierre's interview, I have a few. I'm going to do, like I said, a mix. Women's empowerment some days, or just self-empowerment, mindset, spirituality, that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to get the law stuff done. You know it. Because I think, especially in and around what we're experiencing from Capitol Hill to local stories, it always bothers me when I don't see, a broad enough perspective, when I only see one type of person's perspective. And I think we have, room here, in these YouTube streets to kind of broaden the conversation and bring new perspective to conversations that, traditionally didn't include, who we have in this chat here, who we have watching. And I love that there can be that crossroads. People who are traditionally not sitting down and chatting, getting to express and getting to kind of like peel back the layers of that onion and allow people to get real and to learn and as well as to have an impact. So I appreciate you guys. Again, show dedicated to bring home Miya Marcano, young lady out of Orlando, Florida, who is still missing. Person of interest is now deceased. Manuel Caballero, he was found dead in his apartment. Armando Manuel Caballero was found dead in his apartment, main person of interest. So now the family needs answers, and we are asking if you know anybody in and around Orange County, Seminole County, around Orlando, UCF. I mean, we are less than 6 degrees of separation from most things. Funny enough, in the United States, you know somebody who knew somebody who lived there who did that. We need any tips. I'll leave the number for the Orange County Sheriff's Office in the description. Her dad's number is also available. I didn't put it in there, but if you want it and you actually have a tip, you can find it. And just sending love, peace, solidarity to all the relatives. Shout out to Giselle, the Wasi one, stepmom, Mr. Marlon Marcano, DJ Eternal Vibes from here in South Florida. The community is seeing you. The community wants her home just as bad as you. We are going to talk about her on social media. And for those who are able physically to go and to help look, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's been sharing. And like I said, that's how I got the wind of this story. And we're going to do what mainstream media maybe necessarily can't. Let's put it like that. We're going to make sure her name is said many more times. So thank you guys. Drop a comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Please hit that subscribe button. For those of you who are new, welcome again to the community. This is Let's Talk Justice, and I'm your host, Suzette Speaks. It has been wonderful. I'll see you guys real soon. Y'all take care. Bye now.